Chairman Greg Wood,
Here.
Bill Parkman,
Here.
Donna here, David Hernandez,
He's resigned.
yes. And Gerald Morris excused, Dennis Schaffner,
Here.
Greg Wright is excused. Okay.
Okay. Before we go into item 4, adopt agenda, I do have two items I'd like to have added to the agenda. First off, and the guest speakers, we'd like to have Joe Ellen Alexander added as one of the guest speakers on behalf of the concerned citizens over the Raceway Solar project. And also I got an email from Terry from Chamber after the agenda went out, and wanted to know if the RMAC wants to participate in the annual Christmas parade. So I figured to get it on here where we can discuss it and move forward. And we would need to add that
New business B.
New business B. Also, if you need more chairs, there's plenty in the other room. Just go in and help yourself. And so that'd be item B on new business for the Christmas parade. All right. Any other changes on the agenda?
You sure you didn't want to have her go first?
No, we're going to have to go with that later. She's with Curtis. Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion is made by Director Schaffner, seconded by Director Parkman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 5, approved minutes. Any discussion on the minutes? I just wanted to, there was a little bit of confusion. I just wanted to say one thing on my comments at the last meeting. I had probably confused people by saying that I would be resigning my position on the board after the election. That was incorrect, and John was gracious enough to put it in his paper and let me put that out there. But I just wanted to tell everybody that my term ends at next month's meeting, and I did not run for re-election to this board. Instead, I ran for the Rosamond Community Services District. And so next meeting, we will be calling the meeting to order. That'll be my last time here doing that, and then the new board members will be sworn in and take their seats. And it has been an honor and a privilege to serve this community in this capacity here. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
The motion is made by Director Parkman, second by Director Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Kern County Sheriff's Department.
Sergeant Anthem for the Sheriff's Department. For the East area stats for October, East area is Tehachapi, Rosamond, Mojave, Boron, and all the areas in between. We had 1,850 calls per service. Rosamond had 665 of those. We had 80 arrests, and 24 of those were in Rosamond. And we wrote 221 reports, and 81 of those were in Rosamond. Some of the other things we've done this in October and recently, we shut down the internet casino at Zebras the other night. we've shut down dispensaries. They keep reopening. We'll keep shutting them down. We'll be back. And then we've shut down a couple of grows in the area. We also have had a number of burglaries to businesses recently again. If anyone sees anything or knows anything, let us know. If we get a picture that's good, we'll try to put it out. But at this point, we don't have anything that's really usable. But we are working it. Deputies are investigating it. But if there's anyone that has any information, let us know.
All right, California Highway Patrol.
Officer Stevens, Mojave CHP. I don't really have any talking points. They didn't have stats for me. It was kind of last minute for me to be here. Only thing that they told me to put out to you guys, if you're interested, we'll be doing our Chips for Kids toy drive for the holidays, and those dates will be available at a later date. I'm not exactly sure when they are. It'll be on the weekends. So if you want to donate it to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kern County Fire Department. I don't think there's anybody here. Okay, Kern County Supervisor? Yes, Mike?
Yes, good evening. I just wanted to make it real quick. Zach Scrivener was reelected last week as our Kern County Supervisor for District 2, so we want to thank everyone for his support. He's back to work hard for the citizens of Kern County and his constituents here in Rosamond. We also, the Board of Supervisors signed the deal with the Amazon Distribution Center. I know it's in Bakersfield, but it is in Kern County. It's outside of Bakersfield city limits, so all of the economic activity that this Amazon Distribution Center is going to generate is going to build the tax base, which is going to help all of the county for public services and the sheriff's department and the parks and the libraries and everything else. So that is official. They're coming in. They're going to build a 2 million square foot distribution center. It's going to bring approximately $111 million of new economic activity to the county every single year. So it's a big deal. Somewhere between 900 and 1,500 new jobs are going to be provided, and the average starting salary is $38,000 a year for this new Amazon distribution center in Kern County. So that's all the news that I have.
Where is it located?
It's over by the airport in Bakersfield in the county.
In Meadowsfield?
That is correct. Yes. My name is Michael Clark. Yes.
You have a question over there.
They just pinned the deal last week. I think next summer is when they're supposed to break ground.
Okay, does anyone else have questions for the Supervisor's Office? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, Simpson Tom Lackey. Any representative here for him today? Okay, Rosamond Community Watch.
Gail just wanted me to mention that there will not be any cleanups till after the first of the year, and that's all she wanted to mention.
Okay, very good. Okay, Rosamond Community Service District. Anybody here from there to give an update? Okay, Rosamond Foundation, no report. Rosamond Chamber of Commerce.
Yep. Jack Miller, President of Rosamond Chamber of Commerce. December 1st, 6 p.m. will be our annual Parade of Lights, which is actually put on by the Old Town Merchants, which Terry Landseal is president of that. And in conjunction with the Rosamond Chamber of Commerce, helping them promote it and put it on. If anybody's interested in being in the parade, on the Rosamond Chamber of Commerce website is the parade application. There'll be a separate link that says Parade of Lights. And under Parade of Lights is the application form for the parade if anybody wants to enter or join the parade. So it's also on the Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. We're almost done with the event center. Probably seen next to the chamber, we got a stage going up and we got some handrails up, getting the electrical put in, getting some pavers put in. These pavers have business and member names or contributors to the event center's names on bricks, and different size bricks. We have laser etched their names to go in right at the base of where the fence is of the event center. So if anybody's interested, you can go on the chamber website as well, and we're selling bricks, and the bricks help fund the finishing up the event center. So we're getting close on that. November 25th on a Sunday, we're going to be decorating the stage for the event center for December. So if anybody want to come out and help, bring some lights, trees, or your hands, we'd love to have you. It'd be fun. And that's about it. That's all I got. Anybody have any questions? I'm sorry? Be November 25th, 1 p.m. on Sunday. And if anybody's interested, the chamber website address URL is rosamondchamber.com or .org. Either one will take you to our website.
Jack, you might want to mention when and where your meetings are.
Our meetings are right here prior to this, 5:30 p.m. to 7. Usually it takes about an hour every month. Third Thursday of every month, right before the RMAC, we have our chamber meetings right here. So anybody interested in getting involved in the chamber, we are looking for volunteers to try to keep the chamber doors open. Unfortunately, the current board members, we all have businesses, and it's been hard for us to keep the doors open. So we're looking for volunteers who want to help us keep the doors open during the day, at least 4 hours or something like that each day. So if anybody's interested, give me a call. If you have a nonprofit business where you need some workspace and computers, we can work something out. But I'd love to have you volunteer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Rosamond Youth Football and Cheer. All right. Southern Kern Unified School District. Okay, Antelope Valley Citizens for Responsible Use of Water. I didn't see Scott here, so. Edwards Air Force Base. And any others? Okay, before we get on to item 7, I'm sure that all you folks here aren't here to look at our nice faces. And
What?
no, I think they're here for one reason. This is a good opportunity for everybody to get your voice heard. I will ask that sometimes when you got a lot of people like this, and I know that emotions are pretty high over this issue, that to just remember to keep it civil, let everybody have their time to talk, and what we're going to do is we're going to allow Curtis and Joe Ellen about 20 minutes to make their presentation and everything. And then I believe there's somebody here from SPower. Can you raise your hand if you're here? Okay, so we have somebody here from SPower. They're going to come up and make a presentation as well. And then we will take questions from the audience. And, please raise your hand, wait to be acknowledged, and then ask your question, let the question get answered, and then we can move on. And that way everybody can hear the questions and everybody can hear the answers. And, you can get out of here before 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so with that, let's move on to item A. Curtis Kingott and Joe Ellen Alexander, if you come up to the podium, the floor is yours.
Thanks for having me, guys. I definitely am not going to take 20 minutes. Keep it quick to what we're going on here. Obviously, we're here talking about the Raceway Solar project that's proposed on the west side of Rosamond out there. I'm here to ask the council members to join us in supporting, being against the Raceway Solar project. It's an invasion on our homes. It's an invasion on the community that's out there in the Avenue A and the West Rosamond area. I currently have signed with me over 500 signatures of people in the Rosamond and the Antelope Valley community here that are opposed to the Raceway Solar project. It's currently bouncing up it's bounced up against about 350 currently developed properties out in the west side of Rosamond. They're putting them right in the middle. There's 1,847 acres, I believe, that they're looking to develop that is surrounding houses. I know there's one member that's here in Rosamond, a Rosamond member, that he's got property, he's got being surrounded on 3 sides, sharing fences on 3 sides, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So we ask that you guys support us in opposing the Raceway Solar project. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not against solar. I have solar on my house. I just don't want it next to my property, you know, invading on our properties. I think there's much smarter ways to do solar. I'll definitely explain some of that to you guys if anybody wants to sit down and talk about that. But I ask for your guys' commitment and pushing that back to the Board of Supervisors, getting it back up to Scrivener's office, and having a conversation with that, and something maybe we can get him down here and talk with that, getting our elected officials here to back us on that agenda. You know, it's definitely an impact out there. The AVEK has already tried one project out there. They couldn't get through the environmental impact. They actually abandoned in place because they had so many comments on the environmental impact on the exact same property that is currently being proposed. So we look to leveraging some of our fight off of that previous environmental impact and the comments on that. There's a few Rosamond residents that really put up a good fight for when that happened. So we are starting a group, organized group, to help get this together, get this organized, and get people focused. So if anybody wants to join that, we've got a few Facebook pages out there now. So contact me. I've got information on that. I will gladly provide you guys with copies of these if you would like to send forth. So
What is your contact?
my contact, I have an email address, Raceway Solar Project, racewaysolar@yahoo.com.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just one little statement, which I didn't like what you put in here speaking. You got solar in your house, that's your personal business, that's fine. But these big yards coming up, I'm not going for that. It's killing everything around here, our animals or what.
I completely agree with you, sir. I completely agree with you.
I live up 100th Street there, out there 120th Street there, they got that whole thing all built up there.
My personal
opinion
on a smart way to do solar, every parking lot that's out here that is already paved, why is there not a solar farm on top of each one of that? I understand there's a lot of things that go into that, a lot of infrastructure decisions, a lot of private property that's owned that forces that, but that's the type of thinking that we need to look at. We need to take the already covered areas and start doing it that way. That would be my thoughts on smart solar.
Okay. Curtis, if you could grab a chair and stand by the front, and then we can have the solar people come up and make their presentation.
Sure.
And then that way, both of you can take questions and answers, and that way it'll go a lot smoother that way.
Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Wood and members of RMAC, Mr. Clark, and friends and neighbors. My name is Joellen Alexander. I'm a former high school counselor and teacher from SKUSD, and I've lived in Rosamond for 28 years and I love it here. I moved out to Rosamond to get out of the city side for the quietude that it offers. It's a wonderful place at the end of a work day after seeing 180 kids to come out and see the eagles and the coyotes and the foxes, and I feed the birds, many species of birds I have out there. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. Although I'm a retired teacher, I still teach. We have a Rosamond adult literacy program here, and we're all volunteers, and we teach people English, and we've had people from 11 different nations come to Rosamond for English. It's been wonderful. I would like to see everyone who's here opposing this Raceway Solar project. Would you please stand up right now? I want to thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Please be seated. I want to thank you for letting me address you tonight. And I want to talk to you about why we hate the idea of this solar project and we want it stopped. there's several reasons that we hate this project. We hate the project because it's going to hurt our families. The dust, the dirt, the roads being destroyed, it's going to hurt our community in many ways. All the vermin in the fields, once they start digging, all the vermin are going to be chased into our homes. Now those vermin include things like gopher snakes, not so bad. Gets worse, rattlesnakes, king snakes, rats, mice, gophers, scorpions, spiders, and down the list will invade our homes. And one of my neighbors just down the street, on a good day without the solar project, had 4 scorpions in his house this summer. And his house is right across the street from one of these horrible fields that's going to be hit. My friend in Antelope Acres, which Raceway Solar project also affects, had recently had 4 snakes in her outside storage cabinet. 4 snakes. Not a happy thing to go out and find. And many skunks, and she's just downwind, just down the street from one of the solar projects that's been out there. So it's affecting her in many ways. One of the things that affects me is the value of my home. And I know that possibly that's not one of the things that people look at, but I look at it because it is my nest egg. And my value, I talked to a local real estate dealer, my friend right here, and he told me, Joellen, your home is going to go down between $30,000 and $40,000. Can you afford that? I can't. The wildlife out here in the desert is one of the things that we love. How many of you enjoy and love the wildlife that come around your yards? All of us. I like the coyotes. I go out at night just to hear them sing. Does that sound crazy? No. I love the coyotes. Yeah. I go out in the morning and I hear the coyotes sing and I like it. And I see the foxes around my yard. Now, you know what? When I first moved here, I used to see roadrunners. And when I worked at the high school, the name of our high school mascot was Rosamond Roadrunner, with a big tail. And these are birds. In case you don't know, these are birds that would rather run than fly. A wonderful wildlife out here. One of the things that we're going to have to deal with and look forward to are additional overhead electrical lines. We don't want that. You know, I'm old enough that I remember the old commercial and the old arpege commercial. Do you remember that commercial? That commercial said, promise her anything but give her arpege, right? So these solar companies and these wind companies come in and they promise anything and then they leave destruction in their wake. And what recourse do we have when the lines are overhead and all the damage has been done? The ambient temperature near these solar fields goes up on an average of 5 to 7 degrees. Now, we've already spent weeks this summer at 110 degrees. Do we want to go up to 117 degrees? I don't. It's too hot. The other situation that we're going to face is dust, dirt, and more dust. And I have a friend here who lives over in Land of Promise, and they put solar in over there, and one of the ladies I talked to at my vet, straight from her mouth, she said, Joellen, the dust poured down every vent on top of the house, the dust came in our windows, the dust came in our doors, and I had dust this thick on all my windowsills. And I called the company, and they sent out Merry Maids for 4 hours, and that's the last I ever heard of it. They denuded the land. They come in and they scrape everything off of the land, and what's the result? More dust, right? More dirt. Now, also in front of my home, I have about 30 acres, and I'm going to have a wonderful view of ugly gray solar panels. And the farmers were so kind when they were there. They put stanchions around this great big beautiful Joshua tree. And I have a friend here tonight who is known as the Joshua tree artist in this valley, Chris. And Chris and I love Joshua trees. Is there anybody else here that loves Joshua trees?
Yes.
Well, they're going to come in and they're going to take out that 400-year-old Joshua tree and it'll be gone. In my visits, and I've visited many of you. If I've visited you or you've talked to me, would you raise your hand, please? I see a lot of friends here. I've spent since August on visitation out here, and I've met some of the most wonderful neighbors, some of the most wonderful people. Let me tell you about one neighbor. She lives directly across the field from me, and when she got this notice, and by the way, only people within 1,000 feet, directors got this notice from the county. If you're beyond 1,000 feet, you didn't get the notice, and you're going to be the recipient of all the dust and dirt and the vermin. But these people weren't even notified. But this lady got the notice. It's going to be right in her front yard. And do you know what happened to this lady? She had a full-blown stroke. Fire department, paramedics, the whole 9 yards. And when I talked to her later, she was under treatment, and friends, she could not even tell me her email or her phone number. This thing distressed her so much, and she was still suffering the results from it. There's another older couple that I talked to on Gaskell, and I've gone door to door to dozens of homes, hours and hours talking to the most wonderful people who are going to have to put up with this horrendous project. And these people are already gone. They put up their house for sale and they've moved out. They've left this area because of this project. Another man I talked to, a neighbor, told me that, and as he talked to me, I want you to know that he was looking like this, bending over a chair, hardly able to breathe. And when I explained to him what was going to happen, he told me, I have lung cancer, and the dust and the dirt that's going to come, and he's downwind from one of these projects, is going to take me down. And he already has lung cancer. And anybody that has asthma or COPD or any other respiratory problems, this is going to affect them in a very detrimental way. I have another neighbor, and this has already been alluded to. He's going to be covered on 3 sides. How would you like solar panels on 3 sides of your house? What's the chance of him selling his house? What's the chance of him having any respite from this horrible project? The last thing I want to talk to you about is something called coccidiomycosis. Coccidiomycosis. Doesn't that sound nasty? Sounds like a horrible word. It is a horrible word. It stands for valley fever. And I've lived in this valley 28 years. As a teacher in this valley, I'm embarrassed to tell you I didn't know very much about it until recently. When I lived in Lancaster in a neighborhood, one of my neighbors came down with it, a Hispanic teacher, and this man died from valley fever. And I have spent hours, literally hours, researching this disease, and this disease is coming after us. It's here in a very strong way. It's in this valley, and not only is it after humans, but it attacks our animals. How many people in here own a dog? Valley fever affects your dogs, folks. And one of my neighbors told me that, and I thought, really? I never heard that before. So I went to my vet, because I don't want to bring to you something that's untrue. And my vet confirmed yes. Not only do dogs get valley fever, anybody have cats here? Cats can get valley fever. Is there anybody here that's ever visited the exotic feline compound? Wild animals get valley fever. And matter of fact, in Arizona, the valley fever is so bad in Arizona that I have statistics that indicate that $60 million is spent by dog owners on valley fever in Arizona. Matter of fact, in Arizona, they have a special valley fever program, institute, where they're dealing with valley fever. Now, where does valley fever come from? Is it contagious from human to human? No. It's in the spores of the dirt. It's a fungus. We have a fungus among us, and it's ready to get us. And I'll tell you what, there were 7,400 plus cases in Kern County.
How many?
7,400 cases, a 34% increase just last year alone. And how does the fungus get released? It gets released when people disturb the dirt. So gardeners, beware. If you're moving dirt around, there's a fungus out there. And I'll tell you what, when solar companies come in, the dirt gets moved. And I talked to my good friend from Land of Promise. Actually, she was my student about 100 years ago. And she became my bank manager. And one day she called me in and she says, Joellen, come in my office. I'm going to teach you how to do online banking. So I'm so grateful to her. She's helped me so much. And she told me that when solar came into her valley, that the dust and the dirt and the disruption was terrible. And so all this fungus is released into the air. And in my research, I found that in a county, in a day, in one county, the fungus can spread all the way across a county in a day. Now that's traveling. And we know what kind of winds we have. How many of you have had winds just on a regular windy day without Solar helping us out? How many of you have had dust so thick that you couldn't see 50 feet across the property? That's just normal wind in the Antelope Valley, right? Did you know that California now has travel warnings? People are given travel warnings. If you go to California, you got to watch out for the valley fever. And you know how we prevent it? You go in the house and you shut your door and you shut your windows and you don't come out. Now, how likely is that to happen? I have a friend here who's a master gardener. And she, with God's help, produces the most wonderful vegetables and fruits you've ever seen. Now, how's she going to just stay in the house? So the other option is an N95 respiratory mask. And I'm going to look into that myself because on a good day, a windy day, the dust is terrible. As I did my research, I found out that there's no vaccine for valley fever. Now, in most of the sites I went to, they said there was no cure for valley fever. No cure. Matter of fact, the University of Arizona at Tucson has a special valley fever institute, and on their website it clearly says that there's no cure for valley fever, which is very sad. Now, I did run into a vet, one of my neighbors the other day, and he did not agree with that point of view. But that is the general consensus. Now, Kevin McCarthy, who is our congressman to the U.S. House of Rep, and he'll be the minority leader next year. He was just elected. He has put a bill in to the Congress of the United States asking for $95 million for valley fever research. That sounds like a lot of money to me. $1 million would be a lot to me. $95 million. It's a big, huge problem. Now, Gene Fuller, our California state senator, went to Governor Brown and the legislature, and believe it or not, she was able to get released to California $8 million for valley fever research, and $3 million of it is going to come to Kern County, to Bakersfield. So the problem is great. Again, all animals are affected. Are there any people that have horses here? Horses can get valley fever. One of my neighbors I went to has alpacas and llamas, and they can get valley fever. Now, I'm going to give you some information on what to do if you know somebody that gets valley fever, because I was blocking the road on one neighborhood I went to the other day because I don't like to bother the dogs between the fence and your front door. So I was in the middle of the road, and I was hailing people as they went by to talk to them, because I don't want dogs chasing me when I come in the gate. And I stopped this man, and I started talking to him, and he said, oh, this valley fever is really a problem. My wife got valley fever from a solar field 9 years ago, and she's still under treatment and still very ill. Engineer here in this valley, so I cannot take a stand on this. Something about conflict of interest or something. So valley fever is a huge problem. Valley fever starts with flu-like symptoms, maybe a cough, muscle aches, and it can go into a disease that's called disseminated valley fever. The fungus gets into the lungs. Of course, we know from our biology days that the blood goes through the lungs and carries the oxygen to the rest of our body. Guess what? It also carries the valley fever fungus, and it can actually result in meningitis. And we had 9 people die in Kern County last year. And Kern County is the worst incidence of valley fever in the whole state of California. And most at risk, all of you that have anything, any color that looks like my hair color, I finally gave up coloring it. If you have my color hair, you're at risk. If you're age 60 or above, you're at risk. If you or anybody you know has diabetes, you are at a greater risk. If you know anybody that has an autoimmune disease, you're at risk. If something like AIDS or lupus, MS, if you have a weak immune system. If you're a Hispanic, a Filipino, or African American, for some reason, those folks are more subject to valley fever. Valley fever has lots of complications. It can result in pneumonia. It can result in infection of the brain. It can result in terrible joint problems. It can manifest itself with red rashes, night sweats, chills, and it's very under-recognized. Matter of fact, 60% of the people that have valley fever don't even know they have it unless they happen to go in for a chest x-ray or blood test and it's found that way. It takes months to years to recover, if you recover, and many people do not recover from it. The nodules in the lungs look like lung cancer in an x-ray. You If you do develop symptoms, especially severe ones, the course of the disease is variable, and I'm almost done here. It can cause you fatigue. It can cause you terrible sickness. It can result in terrible meningitis. And it depends on how many fungus spores you inhale. So the next time you see that dust coming down your road, and if it's from SPower, make sure you put on your mask. And we'll all know each other out here by our respiratory masks. And that's number N95 mask. And you people at SPower, I have something to say to you. First of all, you have no idea of the sickness and the disrupted lives that you leave behind in your greed and your unending quest for money, caring nothing about the known problems you leave in your wake. What I mentioned to you are known problems. There are unknown problems, unintended consequences. Nor do you do anything to ameliorate the problems we know about. It's all about money and power. Run roughshod over the little guys. I'm just a little guy. Who am I? I'm somebody that's waiting for a catastrophe to happen in my neighborhood. I want you to know, as a Christian, the only thing that I can really do, and the strongest thing I can really do, is pray. Because I worship a God who loves me, who loves you. And I would encourage you to pray with me. We want to stop this thing. So, SPower, we want you to pull up your stakes. We want you to get out of our neighborhoods. We want you to leave us alone. We don't want your dirt. We don't want your noise. We don't want the commotion. We don't want the disease. We don't want the wires of the stations. And we don't want your workers in our front and backyards. Is that right, everybody? My friends and my neighbors, this is a fight that God can win for us. This is a fight. We're not going to lay down and play dead. We're not going to lay down and look like a rug and act like a rug and then squeak when we get walked on. We're going to squeak right now. And the best way we can squeak is to write letters to the supervisors. Write letters to the planners. And RMAC, we are asking you for a letter from you to the planners and to the supervisors to support us in this fight. This is going to affect our lives, our livelihood, our animals, the wildlife. It's going to affect us in ways that we haven't even considered yet. So please support us. And my friends and neighbors, please write. If you haven't signed the petition yet, I have some petitions for you to sign. If you would like to be on an email list, I will personally email you and keep you up to date about what's going on, and I'll pass that around for you. So I want to personally thank you very much. You gave up your time to come out here tonight, and it was not a waste. It was not a waste. And when you hear from other people in here, you'll be able to commiserate with them, because my heart is broken over that man that has lung cancer. And my heart is broken over that woman who has a stroke and can't even remember her own phone number. And these people want to come in here and shove this down our throats. So don't give up the fight. We will notify you when we're going to go to Bakersfield. Curtis and I have already been to Bakersfield. and many others. How many of you in here went to Bakersfield for the first meeting? Yes, good for you. We will not give up the fight, but please pray with me. And I want to thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Why don't we go ahead and take a short 5-minute recess, and then we will hear from SPower, and then we'll go ahead and have a question and answer for a while, and hopefully we get everybody's questions out there that you want to have. So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll have SPower.
Good evening, everyone.
I don't think that
doesn't
microphone's
work?
working, so
No.
you're just gonna have to
Okay, I'll have to yell.
Yes.
Good thing I was a cheerleader in high school. Hi, everyone. My name is Tanya Martinez. This is my colleague, Nancy Sue. We're with SPower, the owners of your favorite Raceway Solar project. So a little bit about SPower. We've been building solar projects in Kern County for the past 5 years. We've constructed about 3 projects right now, and we've created hundreds of jobs in the county, and we've invested hundreds of millions of dollars in Kern County alone. And I'd just like to remind you all of why we're here, why we're developing a solar project in your backyard. And we're really here for your children, my children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, to create a cleaner environment, cleaner air, and to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. I don't know why you're laughing, it's serious, and that's why I'm in this industry. And California has shut down almost all of its coal-fired power plants and is looking to renewable energy resources to replace those dirty fuels. That's why we're here. And I think I think most of us here are supportive of clean energy, and we all like having our lights on, right? We all like having electricity, but nobody wants it in their backyard. Nobody wants these projects in their backyard. There's no, it's really, we're up against a wall here, and we understand where you're coming from. We're here to listen. We care about you. We don't want any of you getting valley fever. I mean, there's some major mitigation measures that we have to implement in our projects to mitigate all this. We don't want you guys sick. We have to do our best to keep a healthy working environment for you all. So a little bit about the project. So as you know, it's an 18. The proposed Kern project is proposed to be constructed over approximately 1,800 acres. There's about 7 parcels, and the project is in the very preliminary phase of development, and there will be 1 transmission line that'll leave the project site, and we're currently assessing 4 different options for the transmission line. It'll either be a 220 kV transmission line that runs south completely in LA County to connect to an existing substation, or another alternative that we're assessing would be a 115 kV transmission line that runs west to an existing LAD WP transmission line. We've got some local support from the Kern County Economic Development Council. We've got support from IBEW. This project will create hundreds of construction jobs, and I mean, we're required to mitigate all the issues that you guys have raised tonight, and I'll let Nancy talk about the environmental and the permitting aspects of the project.
So thank you for your time, first of all. I was there at the public scoping meeting at Kern County in the middle of the day. I believe it's 2 or 3 p.m. So thank you for coming here at a weeknight at 7 p.m. We wanted to come here so that I know a lot of you guys work, so that public scoping meeting was in the middle of the day, so hopefully more of you are out here. I did go to that scoping meeting to hear everyone's comments. We have been speaking to Lorelei Oviatt and her planning staff as well. They are very well aware of everyone's comments. So one thing I hope you guys understand is we are held accountable by the County of Kern, as well as the Air Pollution Control District. So We want to be responsible. We understand everyone's concerns. I know there's biological concerns, health, valley fever. So we're held accountable by Kern County. Lorelei Obiot is very well aware that there is, houses in this area. And she brought that up to us. She's listening to you guys, and she wants us to come up with a good solution. So it's for those near us. As you know, the initial study and notice of preparation came out a few months ago. And the notices went out, and the comments came in. We're in the very early stages. We don't even have a site plan yet. So what the next steps are is Kern County and the planning department, they're going to come up with an environmental report, and it's going to take probably a good year, anywhere from 8 months to 12 months. And after their environmental report, they analyze everything, valley fever, biological species, air quality, and after that, that gets distributed to you guys, and you guys comment on it. And they respond to your comments in a final environmental impact report. And then there's, it goes before the Board of Supervisors and Planning Board for approval. So I'm just here to show, we're in the early stages. We're here to listen to you guys. We understand everyone's concerns. But please know, we are held accountable by the county. So we're not here to steamroll you guys too. Questions?
You want to put these in our backyard. How much of this electricity is actually going to stay here in Kern County?
None. Zero.
Why should we, if it's going to LA, why don't we put it in LA? They're benefiting from it, not us.
I mean, the electrons go where load is. So, I mean, it'll immediately serve local loads and, I mean, the transmission lines.
As far as I know, we don't understand that everything's going to LA County.
No, I mean, we don't even have a contract for power for this project.
Kern County gets benefits. LA County gets benefits.
The electrons go where the load is. There's a smaller load around Rosamond, and it's going to go where the load is. But as for...
I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
Okay. I have already been personally affected by the windmills and by the solar. I live up in the mountains. When I leave my house, I could see nothing but a sea of solar panels, okay? And I'm right in the middle of the windmills. My dog got bit by a Mojave green, and I've never seen one up close and personal until they put in the windmills and the solar panels. I'm getting overrun by vermin, okay? You have the hantavirus that's carried by the deer mice. Your lungs fill up with fluid, and you cannot breathe, and you die. That comes from the fleas on the deer mice, okay? And they're coming in close more and more to my house, all right? I have a friend that lived in a ranch from about 155th before Avenue A, and she was finding falcons, red-tailed hawks, eagles laying on the ground. She'd take them home and they would die. Their guts were fried from the solar panels, okay? And you're saying that where the energy's going? I don't have a clue where the windmill energy goes to. I've never been offered anything for my property there, and I'm right smack in the middle of all this. And they're proposing putting panels all the way on the east side of me, up behind me, and on the west side of me and south of me is the windmills. So these windmills are not benefiting our children or their children to come. No, that's bull. What you're saying is bull. It impacts the environment.
I've lived here since 1958. And I have not seen them benefit Kern County nothing.
We don't want it.
The only thing I've seen is my son-in-law get valley fever, and he lives up on 90th of Willow Spring Village. Wow. Wow.
You said something local, but in Alan Akers meeting, your operations manager said the reason you're here is because the transmission lines, they're going down to that substation near Del Sur. Major transmission lines to take it elsewhere. So you're putting them here, right up against our houses, so you can sell it to another state.
Yep. Thank you very much. Good going. Very good. When there's a substation on 60th and Roosevelt Boulevard.
So now, just so everybody knows, California paid last month Arizona a large sum of money to take solar power that we did not use.
There's a power station at 60th and Rosamond Boulevard. It doesn't even compare to the one at 140th. The one at 140th is humongous. And yeah, that's a negative impact on us.
And we're not, that's not the closest stuff. We have to go all the way to Lancaster.
I can understand that we do want clean power. However, have you guys looked at any other sites that doesn't impact these homes? And by the way, I'm not in the impact zone, but I'm within 500 miles of that dirt being blown in town here where we're all gonna suffer. So have you guys looked at alternatives? As we said, we are not against solar. We just don't want it next to our homes. So you're hearing us, and we are please asking you to go to another alternative and not put this in our area because of the impact it's going to have on us personally.
We have to mitigate that dust. There's so much dust suppressant that we use prior to construction, during construction, after.
I don't want to like that.
Environmental process.
Hey,
Hold it.
give them a chance to talk.
One at a time, let her answer the question, raise your hand, please vote to your acknowledge. If everybody starts talking at once, nothing's gonna get accomplished. Every one of your comments and your thoughts are very important, and it's, be fair to everybody to show the respect so they can get their questions asked, and that way we can all learn something here tonight.
So just real quick, through environmental process, we're required to look at other alternatives. So we are required to do that through the process.
Thank you. One of the things that no one has considered, that no one has considered is that Rosamond is growing at a rate of 12%. Lancaster is growing at 9%. We have, more growth in Rosamond. The school district is impacted. We are a growing community. We cannot grow to the north because of the mines and the hills. We cannot grow to the east because of the Air Force Base. We cannot grow to the west because the LA County line is 4 miles that way. I mean, to the south, because the LA County line is just 4 miles over. The only place we have to grow is west. And 3 of your sites surround my neighborhood. My husband has asthma and COPD. That will kill him. It will kill him to have all that dirt blowing right at our house. And believe me, the wind comes right through that area towards my house because it blows from the southwest to the northeast. And it's a problem. And you are surrounding a whole neighborhood. If you look at that blank, the farthest east sites, and there's a blank area, that's my neighborhood, right there. And you're all around there. And I didn't find out about it from you. I had to get her to come to my door to find out that this was even going on. So where are we gonna go once you put up this thing? Where is Rosamond gonna grow? Because I'm looking to the future of this town to grow and to become, to get services here. I just got elected to the school board. I am invested in this community, and I do not want to see this because nobody's going to want to build next to all the 1,800 acres of solar panels.
You have solar all up and down 180th Street, right? As far as you can see from Mojave all the way to Rosamond. Now, all that power goes to LA County. So what you're telling me is you just want to put it in my neighborhood because the transmission line runs down 60th Street, right? So that's what you're telling me. It's easy for you to put in my neighborhood so you can run it down 60th Street and take it to LA. Because you're not going to use that power in Kern County. Is not correct? I don't want to hear about no load and the demand.
No,
you're not going to use the power in Kern County. You're going to take it to LA County, right? It's going to go right down that 60th Street in LA County.
Well, we don't know yet. So there's a couple different substations we're looking at. Like I said, we're looking at the interconnecting to the Antelope substation. And there's lines going everywhere.
They all go to LA County.
And then there's an LADWP substation
LA County
as well. So I mean, like I said, electrons go where they go.
County. Everything you said was LA County.
Yeah.
LA County wants power, let them put it in LA County.
Yeah. We're here to to meet California's goals to be renewable, you know,
Solar doesn't
California
pay for
has an
itself. The
ambitious
government
goal.
subsidizes solar. Solar doesn't pay for itself. The government has been subsidizing solar for years.
We get tax credits.
Yeah.
Just like every other resource, gas gets tax credits, I mean, they all get tax credits.
One at a time.
Can I make a couple comments here real quick? So, I understand your guys' concerns immensely. These two ladies out here work for SPower. They've got absolutely no dog in the fight. Our only dog in the fight is to get Mr. Clark over here to start levying weight on the Board of Supervisors and either make the environmental impact stop or put so many conditional use restrictions that it makes SPower not affordable to put it in our area. That's the fight that needs to be focused from this. That's why I asked the council here to help support us in that. These two ladies, they're going to go home tonight and sleep just fine because they're getting a paycheck from SSolar. No offense, because I understand the job, I've done it, you know. But let's make sure we focus our energy in the right area. Mr. Clark over here, he's the guy that we really need to be hounding on to say, hey, this is why we don't want it here. Please take that back to our Board of Supervisors. The two ladies are standing up there, they're going to go do this at the next town council and everywhere else, and that's their job. They've got no way to change this right now. They're just working for the company that's doing it. That company is so big, we are going to have a hell of a fight to try to stand up against that. So just remember that, you know, we can sit here and complain about it all night, but the ladies up there have no ability to change it. We got to focus the energy in the right area.
Well, just
Thanks, guys.
to piggyback on this, you know, we're not here, I understand we're not gonna come to an agreement tonight, I understand. But please, I agree with you. I think you guys need to continue to put your public comments in to the county, Scrivener's office, because that forces us to listen to it. And you're right.
The one thing that I would like to interject here, excuse me everyone, but I live here in town. I don't live out there, you know, in God's country. And it really is God's country. It's beautiful out there. But what I will tell you, you mentioned dust mitigation, and please take this back, because the dust mitigation that's being used isn't working. Here in town, when the construction was going on with several different solar fields out there and everything else, we would have brownouts on the 14 freeway. There was accidents on the 14 freeway. The CHP would have to come in and shut the freeway down because it was unsafe to drive because of all the dirt blowing in from the solar fields. And this is what's got everybody in this community so up in arms. It's one thing that you're building in their backyard, but it's the environmental impact that it's having on everybody living here in this community, and that is the dust. And the wind blows here in Rosamond more times than it doesn't. And
30 to 50 miles an hour.
Right. It's like
regularly.
Regularly. So you know, it's we call 25 miles an hour here a breeze. And you know, so the thing is that that's what's really got people up in arms the most, is the dust that's created and the hazards that come with that dust, and the fact that, you know, you can't even, you know, you drive up here, up the 14 freeway or Sierra Highway, and you literally can't see 20 feet in front of you. Yeah. And that is something that every solar company here needs to find a way to cure if they're going, you know, if they want to have happy neighbors around here. With that, just go ahead and just start picking hands.
Yeah.
I had a couple of quick questions. How much of the property is being leased or purchased from AVEK?
1,500 acres, it's already been done. Signed deal, 40 years, 2 10-year extensions. They're already getting paid for it.
So it's a lease?
It's a 40-year lease, 250.
You put the solar plant in out on the west side, okay? During our last big windstorm that we just had, as I'm coming back from Lancaster, driving down 60th, the dirt is flying off of those. So the mitigation of the dirt blowing after the project is completed is out of sight, out of mind. You're not right there on the project site. There's no dust mitigation whatsoever. How do we know if this actually winds up going through, that there's not going to be a bigger dust when it's out of sight, out of mind? All we're doing is collecting the money from whoever is buying the energy.
Well, we're required through Kern to do mulching and re-veg on our site after, so during operations.
That site's been up there for quite a while though.
And then
And we send water trucks too. I don't know about the other projects, but we have water trucks on our sites that have to.
While you're working?
While it's no, during. I was just on one of our sites a couple weeks ago and we had trucks out there.
So
water
40
trucks.
years, then you can report to the air quality.
Not every day, but really they're 20 years. For 20 years, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
I just want to thank you guys for coming out. Every one of them has these values about dust. It is valid. I live about 1/8 of a mile away from Solar 1 and Solar 2. Looked out there when I went through. The dust was horrendous. We've heard all the stories about valley fever. Those are true facts. Transmission lines. They don't use the existing transmission lines that are there. They build these ugly towers. Yep. Miles and miles of ugly towers in front of homes. This is not right. And what Curtis said about voicing your opinion to Kern County is very, very true. These ladies are only here from their company. They don't make the rules. They don't approve these projects. Kern County does. So we all need to stand up and voice our opinion and voice our opposition if that's what you're so inclined to do to our elected representatives. RMAC, you guys have approved these things in the past. You rubber stamped the Solar 1 and Solar 2 projects. Whatever board members were at that time, not all of you were there. But you need to listen to your constituents. We elect you. Please do not pass this on to the county that the Rosamond residents are opposed to this project in this location. Commercial scale solar does not belong in our town.
You talk about mitigation. I work for a large cement concern in Mojave, very big corporation. We burn coal, we burn petroleum coke. And we are so heavily governed by AQMD that I almost find it offensive that you say you mitigate. We have what's called opacity. If we exceed 20% for 6 minutes, we have AQMD down our throat, and that's not very much. We emit a minor amount of NOx. Now, naturally, you're not going to have that, but what I do see is so much dust. I understand completely what you're talking about. This is, so if they had opacity, that would probably, if we were to measure that, on how we would measure it, it would probably say, I'd say 60 to 80%, you know, maybe to 85%. You cannot see. My wife was almost killed during one of those brownouts. One of the men who was a cement plant manager was killed. One of those fatalities out there during a dust storm. All that is attributed to this. I don't know what agency is going to govern I call them emissions because it's just as bad, but I would put a carbon base against that any time. We are heavily governed. I find that the coal burners are actually, if anybody really understood and would look and see how safe burning coal is under the constraints that are laid down to us by the state, you know, we're so green that, you know, they want to close everything up, but yet they will let these solar farms run completely wild. And I mean, it is rubber stamped. How correct you were. I mean, I think Kern County rubber stamps everything. I've watched the Board of Supervisors work. They rubber stamp, and it's about money. I heard about that Amazon tonight. That's great. You know, that'll be confined probably up into an industrial area. That's big money. That is a big, big deal. But this is only a big deal to the solar the companies that own these farms. They could care less. Our home is directly, it's on Gaskell Road, it is directly in front of one of those. I mean, right in front.
Yep.
So my wife has been bitten by a Mojave green. This year alone, our dogs were bitten 3 times by Mojave greens, 2 of them, and they did survive. But I mean, we will be overrun with vermin. There is no stopping this. And you can't tell me you will mitigate because you won't. There is no accountability. Kern County will say, bang, rubber stamp, let's collect the money and just say the hell with citizens. Thank you.
You talked about vermin. We've been here 15 years and we're out on 80th off of Dinky. I'm not yelling at you girls, please. This year, now mind you, we raise poultry, so I get we're going to have mice and stuff. That's a given. Field mice is a given. The first time, was it late fall? We are getting overrun by rats.
Yep.
Rats. Yep. Now, could I blame it on the guy that brought the 51 cars in next door? Possibly. They didn't just drop from the sky. He's shooting 9 to 20 rats a night. They're killing my chickens. They're killing them.
Wow.
Now, here's another problem. I'm trying to sell my house. Who's going to pay the depreciation value on it when it goes down $30,000 or $40,000? I can't sell it. Nobody's buying.
We've been trying to get out of here for 9 months now.
Nothing. Before that, houses were selling like crazy. It stopped. And my real estate lady, she's pissed. She's pissed. And like again, I'm not yelling at you girls, but we're trying to get out of this state totally because it's just ridiculous. Now with this coming in, I'm sure it's public, and it has to be disclosed in when I sign that contract to sell the house. People aren't going to want it. So that's my beef.
Now, what's your plans for? I know there's properties out there. There's a plan on from 60th to 65th, all custom homes, 2.5 acre estates out there. A little chain link fence with privacy ain't going to cut it out there. What are you going to put a solid block wall all the way down there so it's hidden? You're wanting to take one of our access roads away. There's only like three ways out of our area right now, and it goes right through that 300 acres. You guys want to close off. It's going to leave us 2 ways in and out. It's a dirt road. We maintain. What do you? I mean, you're coming right up. It's literally here's the road. Here's your solar project. Houses on this side of the road. Solar project 300 miles down. All custom estate homes out there. So what's your plans there?
Well, it's still very preliminary. We're working with Lorelei Obiant and her staff too. She does want us to. She wants us to do visual simulation. She wants us to look at possibly berms, set back even further, slatted fencing, vegetation on top of the berms. There's a whole menu of items that we're going to meet with her on, as well as the county staff. And those are the menu of options with the county.
Remember, that all goes back to what Kern County puts in the conditional use permit.
Right.
They're going to go with the minimum they can. They want the cheapest buck. Conditional use permit is where you get those setbacks and all those other features. Make it so bad. They ought to be developing sidewalks and curbs and 2-lane roads, just like if they built a commercial property here in Rosamond. That all needs to be done on every road that's lined around that solar. Make it so pricey that they can't afford to go there. Conditional use permit.
What I think is a way to look at this is that I'm going to put this on the agenda for next month's RMAC meeting for the board and the new board to discuss and to take whatever action they want to take. And I would say because this is such a, it's in the preliminary projects, you people are doing the right thing by showing up to meetings like this. And what we can do is that the Planning Commission has public meetings. And we can get, if you people want to go, so you don't have to go to Bakersfield, you can go and speak at the Planning Commission meeting. We can have it short, what's that? Satellite TV. And where you can speak directly. It's a room over there in Mojave. We got a television there so they can see you, you can see them. And you can ask your questions. You can, each one of you, one at a time, get up there and say what you want to say. Also, if you want to make the drive to Bakersfield, when this item is on the agenda, or during the public comment period at the Board of Supervisors, you can ask to speak for a couple of minutes and voice your concern to the Board of Supervisors. That's the most effective way you're going to get your voices heard. we're hearing you loud and clear here at the RMAC, but we do not have any authority to make any changes. We can discuss things as a board. We can draft a letter to the Board of Supervisors, you know, of our concerns and your concerns in that matter. But your most effective tool is every opportunity you have is to go to Mojave when the Planning Commission is meeting and discussing this and make your voices heard. And trust me, you know, a couple hundred of you showing up there, you know, en masse and speaking in one voice, it will have an impact. It will make a difference.
I'd like to know when Zach Scribner is going to come down and meet with us.
Supervisor Scribner is well aware of the discontent and the displeasure of his constituents out here toward this project. He is an elected official, and so what his constituents think about a project coming in matters to him. Now, he's only one vote on the board, but he will have tremendous influence over the other supervisors because this is in his district. So he cannot, I mentioned this last time, he cannot take a position on this until it comes before the board, until the environmental impact report is completed. If he were to come out for or against this project now, he wouldn't be able to vote on it later. He would disqualify himself. He'd have to recuse.
We'd like him to come down here.
I can't answer when he'll be here. He has another meeting every time that we meet here. He's at a meeting in Bakersfield every time we have the RMAC meeting. So we'd have to miss.
He's voted on the other projects. He's voted for every single solar project that's gotten implemented to my knowledge.
Thank you. Let me say this. He is well aware of the discontent among his constituents, and he is very concerned. He wanted me to express to you, he is deeply concerned, and he has concerns about this project being so close to residential homes and in such close proximity to residential neighborhoods. He is very concerned about that. He cannot take a position on this until it's brought before the board, if it's ever brought before the board.
When can we meet with him? If we can't meet with him at RMAC because he's in another meeting, I mean, he's our man.
Correct.
He's the go-to guy, and he needs to come down here and hear us, and he needs to be physically present here at some point.
How many times has he been here?
So get with his office.
He was here last month, actually. But he does have another meeting that goes on at this time in Bakersfield.
He was running for office.
It's the Kern County of government. It's the Kern County, and he is your supervisor, Joe Ellen. He was just reelected, so he is your supervisor for the next.
I voted for him.
Good. So did I. For the next 4 years. So, Joe Ellen, you and I are friends. You have my number. You have my cell phone. Call me, and we'll figure something out where we can try and get Zach down here for a meeting. Okay. He doesn't, you know.
Mr. Clark, is there any way with the Planning Commission, this is the only county that I see that does this. Most of us work during the daytime, and it's like they're trying to railroad us through where we can't go to the meetings. Can we, for this issue, can we have the Planning Commissions at night, even if we have to go to Mojave? A lot of us can't get off from work during 1 o'clock in the afternoon to attend these meetings, and that kind of thins out the herd. People are upset. But we all work. We're working for a working town.
The Planning Commission meeting for the EIRs at 7 o'clock at Bakersfield. It's at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. That one's different than the original first scheduled one, just the hearing. We've already asked for the satellite location, hopefully to be here. The county was going to look into see if they can do it here at Hummel Hall. If not, it will be at Lancaster, because that's already been a request.
Next month, but maybe the board can follow up and try to get her to come out here and speak to all of you, and you can voice all of your concerns to her.
I would hope she makes it.
She's
in Rosamond.
What's that?
I hope she can make it. She lives in Rosamond.
Well, but she's also a very busy lady, and Lorelai has been very good about coming to our meetings.
She's been to several meetings here this year.
And she will stand up there and she will take all the questions and all the heat, and she will hear everybody out. And I think that might be the best way, is to have Lorelai come here, because if she can hear directly from you, she's the head of the planning department. She's the one overseeing the EIR and everything else. And so that will probably have the most impact. And then after that, you know, you guys are free, you know, to go to Mojave for the planning commission meetings. You're free to go to Bakersfield for the supervisor meetings. And you're always free to come here, and, you know, I'm hoping that this board will continue to, you know, put this on the agenda, to talk about it, to keep the discussion going and keep it out there. So that way it's, when it's all said and done, that, you know, everything could be done, was done, and, you know, and we've done our best. So all I can do is right now is, you know, because this isn't on our agenda as far as an action, and this board can't take any position this evening on this. The only position that we can take is that we hear you. We want to see this stay out in the forefront, and that your voices will continue to be heard, and tell, you know, you've talked to all the people you need to talk to, and everybody's heard your deal. And don't forget, everybody has an email address. Send emails, write a letter. The more stuff that you put out there, the more opportunities you take for your voice to be heard, the better your chances are of making a change in your direction. Okay?
Well said. Thank you, ladies.
Donna, go ahead.
I actually have two questions for the ladies. Number one, are you disturbing the land now? And two, you talk about employment for Rosamond, but is that not a short-lived employment? So how is that benefiting, other than that small time period, how is that benefiting those of us that live here?
Yep.
So that's two things.
You're right, they're short-term construction jobs that'll occur over a 1 to 2 year period, and that's it. I mean, that's what we're committing to. The long-term jobs for solar are minimal. There's a few handful of jobs that are long-term, but I mean, those construction workers, I mean, that's, a couple of years of work for construction workers. Is what it is. No, we're not touching any land. We can't touch the ground at all until we've got until the project is fully permitted.
So there is absolutely nothing going on in that property whatsoever. The land is not being touched in any manner, shape, or
We're
form.
leasing the land, so whoever the property owner is now, you know, what the original ownership of, they're still, if it's ag, they're still doing something to it, but we're not doing anything to it.
So I have another question. When these solar panels outlive their usefulness, when they become extinct technology, what are you going to do about these 1,800 acres of outmoded technology?
And right now, we have a decommissioning plan, so we plan to remove the entire site after its 20-year life.
And restore it.
And restore it, yeah.
We'll all be dead.
Okay, we'll take just a few more questions. Sir, you've had your hand up for quite a while.
I've got a question about the area that they want to put in there. Isn't it zoned? How's it zoned? Is it light agriculture or houses?
2.5 acre state housing.
2.5.
And they're asking to change it to agricultural. It's currently 2.5 acre estates properties.
So agriculture and commercial are two different things.
Correct, but they're considering it agricultural because they're farming sun.
Call you supervisor.
That makes sense.
That is an FEIR, changing from 2.5 acre estate zoning to agricultural.
Zoning and agriculture allows it to, allows us to develop it as solar. So that's why we're zoning it from estate to agriculture for Kern County.
What's it going to take for us to get a letter from you guys?
Okay, let's discuss that for a minute. We can't do anything until the report's done. There's a process to be followed. One thing I would like for Lorelei to do, since you're leaving and we're going to be left behind. Thanks for deserting us in an hour of peace. Whatever, pal. But the report is being prepared. Once it's prepared, then we can read it and comment on it, vote, and send a letter at that point. Right now, the plan isn't done yet. We can't comment on something that's not done yet. We can certainly listen to the concerns, but we need. But when that point comes, then we can act. That's one point I wanted to make, and the other point I wanted to make was because we're talking about green energy, going green and all the rest of that. What I'm hearing from the folks is going green is great, but why should we go brown?
Yeah.
Yep.
What this board can do is give you, I will get to that gentleman right there, and then we'll take one more question after him.
Oh, the guy that looks like a movie star with
Okay.
The question I have, Kern County, the desert portion of Kern County is a large, expansive land, being a part of the western Mojave Desert. I've seen solar facilities like up around Cantil and other areas where they've built those things out in the middle of nowhere, away from population. What was it that attracted you to Rosamond to want to build
that's a good question.
facility such as
AVEK
that?
price of the land.
The main grid.
AVEK price of the land.
I mean, there's a few reasons why we selected this location. One, it's super flat, excellent solar irradiance. Transmission, close,
you can get that
close to major,
yeah.
transmission. And yeah, I mean, we saw that there are residents here, but I mean, we have to mitigate it. I mean, we have some visual impact mitigation measures that we're going to implement for the project, and so, I mean, nobody wants it in their backyard. Nowhere we go.
In our front yard.
I mean, I've got a gas-fired power plant right across the street from where I live. You know, do I like having electricity? Yes. Do I have to live with that? Yeah.
So go where there's no people.
Yeah. Live off the grid. We don't want electricity, but live off the grid.
We'll get to you two.
We'd like to.
Okay, hold on. We're going to take two more questions. This lady here and that gentleman back there.
My husband and I live on 110 next to solar panels. And we did on here for 30 years, and that worst brownout that just occurred where people died, I was driving home, and when I hit the 90th Street, I could see the solar panel. It was like the Charlton Heston movie, where the seas parted, and it was just eerie to see like brown go vertically up from the solar panel. And I knew they were talking just like you were talking at the front end of that solar panel, saying that they had constraints, they're answering to these safeguards, and they have these standards that they're meeting, and they made all these promises. And I watched the papers to see if they were held accountable. They weren't. So when you talk to us the way you do, you're very eloquent, but it's a slap in all of our faces.
I'd like to answer Donna's question. I live out there on 100th Street. They stuck that solar behind me, and the people working there do not live in California. They're coming out of Arizona and Nevada. I see them a lot of times down here at Tom's. I'm down there every once in a while. Early bird breakfast, Peterson, And they're out of state to talk. You see them come in here with rental cars, California. Some are brave. They come in with their rental cars, come out of Utah, Arizona, Nevada. And it's disgusting what they did out there.
It is.
They just stuck that one behind me on 120th Street, 25th around there. And everything he did there, I don't see no kind of animals out there. I threw some fish out there alongside my house a couple of days ago, about 3 weeks ago, a week ago, take them back. Took them 3 days before they disappeared. The birds are gone. The ravens are gone. I've got very few sparrows out there. And the people across the street from me have a farm over there. They're farm workers. They raise the cattle and sheep and cows, chickens. Don't hardly hear them. Don't even hear coyotes out there. And it surprised me last week. I seen a load one run across by the racetrack. I hadn't seen one in a long time. I about flipped. I take a double look at it. But I'd be in for an hour. I'm different against solar. If you want your house, put it on your house to get the yard.
Okay. Well, with that, I'd like to thank SPower for coming and giving their presentation. And I just want to conclude this presentation here by saying that Dennis is right. Until the EIR is completed, this board here cannot take a position for or against. But in the meantime, this board can be a conduit for you, because we are the voice of this community, and we're also the eyes and ears for the Board of Supervisors. So we can definitely, as a board, make sure that your concerns get to the right people. So that way your message is being heard. And so I would encourage you to take the advice of writing letters, attending meetings, sending emails, be polite, be professional, and get your concerns out there. Tell them every person I heard speak tonight has a valid, legitimate concern and complaint, and every one of them should be put pen to paper and be heard. And that way your voices can make a difference. And this can continue. The new board I'm sure will take this up, but this will continue where Lorelei can be here to address your concerns, give you progress on where the EIR is, things that they're looking for in the EIR, maybe some things they hadn't thought about putting in. Your voices can convince them to maybe go in that direction and address those concerns in the EIR. This is the time when the EIR is being written to get your voices heard to where you can get the changes you want, so you don't have the problems you're all fearing right now. Right? Thank you.
One other point to keep in mind is even though Zach isn't here, he has sent a rep. For many years, from my experience serving on this board, we didn't necessarily have a rep from his office here, but we do. So he's represented, and all that you said tonight, he's carrying back to Zach. So Zach's aware of it. Okay, so don't feel like you're not being heard by the supervisor, because you are.
And I will say this about Mike, is that I can guarantee you, he will go into the office tomorrow morning, and he will, at the very least, brief Zach's chief of staff as to what happened here tonight. So it will be right in his office, if not to Zach himself. But he, your supervisor will hear all these concerns. And I thank you all for your time and effort to come out here. Okay, with that, we'll go to item 8, community announcements. Modified representatives, community service organizations, and clubs are invited to announce upcoming events open to the public. Please limit presentations to no more than 3 minutes.
I got one.
Albert first, then you.
Your local realtor here in Rosamond. I just want to give a quick real estate update for the month of October, seeing how that's finished. We currently in Rosamond have 79 homes listed with an average listing price of $264,446. Average square footage of these homes is 1,666 square feet. And the average price per square foot that's being asked is $163 per square foot. Now last month we had 44 homes closed, and in September we had 25 homes closed, so it's a dramatic increase on home sales. The average sales price last month was $269,281.34. Now these were a little bit larger homes. These were 1,800 square foot homes on average, okay? And the price per square foot, if you want to get out your calculator and kind of estimate what you're at, was about $153 a square foot. Okay? So we are seeing activity grow. It's actually a little bit uncommon for this time of year, because as we get to the holidays, it does start to slow down. And then beginning of the year, it'll generally pick up again. New year, people get motivated to buy or sell a home. But if you have any questions, please come see me. I'm more than happy to help you out with any real estate questions you have.
Thank you.
I have a question based on your report. Based on tonight's meeting, how many of those houses are out in that area, or do you have that information?
I don't have any specific, I didn't break it down into specific areas.
Is there a way you
in
can do
Rosamond,
that for
but
us?
we can look that up if requested.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert? And Lisa?
So, the local VFW is doing Thanksgiving baskets again. I've been tasked to get 100 turkeys by Thanksgiving. I have right now about 25. So we'll take checks, cash, turkeys. You can call us, drop us, Linda Norton. I have Kimberly Arbara, myself. We need turkeys, guys. They're getting everything else, we just need the turkeys. So contact me if you can give me a turkey. Thanks.
Okay, business.
I will make sure I'll make sure I get it.
All right, item 9, public comment period. Any member of the public may address the council regarding any matter of concern to Rosamond residents. This need not be related to any items on the agenda. However, the law prohibits the council from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Please limit presentations to 3 minutes. Any public comments?
I would just like to ask you guys to put this on the agenda for you to decide whether you support or not the opposition to the solar. You guys have the power as our representative electeds to voice your constituents' concerns to the county. So I would like to see that you get that for a vote to your board.
Okay. Put it on the agenda.
Yeah, as soon as the EIR comes out, we can respond to it.
Okay, but you have it in town in residential area. What difference does it make whether it's got an EIR, your environmental impact? It's not the proper location for this. Period.
You can submit that to the district anytime, whether you guys are in support or against it. The EIR doesn't matter. The EIR is only for comments against that EIR.
Well, the EIR will also completely scope the project.
What we can
Right now it's
do,
on scope.
Sherry, noted, and we can't really discuss it because it's not on the agenda.
I get that. I'm just asking.
And we will, it's noted, and we will put it on the agenda. Okay, standing committee reports. Are there any standing committee reports?
I got one letter in dealing with a proposed development on 10th Street West. It kind of intersects with the project that we were talking about, access road, working around for 10th and Orange.
Right.
So it may be a good opportunity for us to be able to make a recommendation regarding that as far as getting 10th Street West paved to Patterson.
Okay. Then let's,
So regarding that, there's a lot of dumping going on in that area.
Yeah, we know.
Well, Carol, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take.
I know, I remember it from
we're
last.
trying to get that, some kind of an agreement where we can get in there and at least improve the road enough where emergency vehicles and police can traverse up and down that road off of Patterson, from Patterson to Orange is what we're trying to do. And that way, if the trains do have Rosamond Boulevard blocked, then it can be a matter of just police and fire and an ambulance can just go around the back way and get to those who need their help.
Yeah, because they're cut off. I talked to Kern County Roads, by the way, and they don't have the right-of-way all along there. So it's a case of getting the easements. And so that's the next step in the process. And it's like 10 to 12 landowners.
Now, I understand that you're going to set a new board in January, or is it December?
Next month.
Next month? So how does that work? Who takes your place and so on and so forth?
Well, I'll explain all that. That's on the agenda.
Oh, tonight?
Yes, tonight.
Okay.
In just a little bit, I'll be explaining everything.
Hurry up, come on.
That's on page 6, only on page 4.
Okay, and any other committee reports on this? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item 11, old business. This item A, discuss and take possible action regarding marijuana dispensaries. Any comments on this?
Close them.
Okay.
We have to get that ballot measure that's going to be on there in March 2020.
Right. That was a concern of mine. Mike, maybe you can answer this. I understand the board of supervisors had to approve the ballot measure for March 2020. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But why did the board of supervisors go ahead and grant extensions to the 39 marijuana dispensaries to stay open until March 2020?
I can't comment on that. I don't have current information. The latest information I have is that the voters voted against all recreational and medicinal marijuana dispensaries in Kern County last week. That's the latest I know. And that we gave them until, I believe it was May of 2019, the handful that were in the permitting process or the application process got an extension until May of 2019 to be shut down. So I haven't heard anything from our legal department.
Can you bring that back to the next month's meeting and
Sure.
report on that?
Mhm.
Because I know that I have been hearing a lot of talk around town, and people are asking, you know, when are we gonna start seeing these shops that aren't supposed to be open shut down? I know that Jim said they shut them down, then they open up, and they shut them down, but it's kind of like, you know, when you get almost 70% of the electorate say no, that's a pretty big mandate. You know, that's people in this county saying, they're telling you exactly what they want. And so you're gonna, in this community is no different. So I'm sure that, especially come next month, when they still see all the shops open, you're gonna have a lot of people asking that question. And it might be a good idea if you can have a report, you know, to address that.
Yeah, I'll get an update on that.
I'd actually make a comment on that, but I read that in the paper, I was flabbergasted. The voters in this election spoke really loud by the percentage, so we don't want either J or K. And then I read the paper, oh, we're gonna extend it. That sort of took our power away from us. We said, as a voter, we don't want this. And then they turn around and do, we're gonna extend it till 2020. It just doesn't jive. Why did we vote?
Yeah.
That's
Who
almost like.
said that? Who did you
who
read
said that?
was quoted that said that in the paper? That they're going to extend it to 20? Who was it that was quoted?
I was reading the paper.
That was a public release.
That was a
from the county
public
office.
release. So it's like, what's the story on this? It's just unbelievable.
Was it your paper, John, or somebody else?
No.
I believe it's on the county website, county webpage.
Okay.
You know,
I haven't received an update on that from
So
Zach.
maybe it's a misunderstanding, but it's like we voted, and now you guys are extending to 2020. That sort of negated our vote.
The way I read it was, if they're extended to May of 2019, the board's going to get together in January to possibly extend until 2020. So
It hasn't, so
Wow.
they haven't voted on it.
Either way, our vote is negated.
Either way, but the point is that, you know, votes do count. And when you have an overwhelming majority say that they don't want something, you know, you need to listen to that. And it's like, you know, the headline in the article was, Kern voters will get another chance at legalizing the marijuana. And instead it should have read, the marijuana dispensaries get a reprieve until they can get another shot at the voters. And it's like, you know, these two gentlemen right here, there is one vote separating them in the election. And when the final results come out, if that stands, one vote is going to determine who's on this board and who isn't. And the fact is, every vote counts. And when you have 70% say something, it's going to be just like here. When the election is certified, if one of these gentlemen loses by one vote, they lost by one vote. And that's the way democracy works. So I'm hoping that the board can address that concern.
The board is on record as being opposed to all marijuana in Kern County. They voted to ban it, and then it came back up because the pot shops got signatures, and they came before the board, and the board allowed them to put it on the ballot for last week. And then once again, the voters voted against it. So the board is already on the record against it, all of them, except for Leticia Sanchez.
My concern is, is that the board doesn't have to keep extending for them to shut down. That's my concern. Yes, the voters have spoken, and the voters have spoken clearly and loudly.
Correct.
And for the Board of Supervisors just unilaterally saying, okay, because Lorelei stood up here and said, if they don't get these measures and they don't pass November 24th, they have to shut down.
They extended it until May.
And then they extended it until
Correct.
May.
Right.
Then if they go in and extend it
Right.
until 2020, and it's, the thing is, why do they keep extending it when they don't have to? That is a direct slap into the face of the voters.
Yeah,
And
that's what you're
that's
saying.
my concern.
That's what her concern.
Okay, anyhow.
I'll get a report
Can
back.
you please have a report
Certainly.
back on that?
Right.
Yes.
That's the newspaper article.
Yeah, here's the
That's the
newspaper
article that's
article.
coming
This is from Sam Morgan, and it's Bakersfield.com. Supervisors give Kern County voters another shot at medical marijuana ballot measure. So they're not giving the voters anything. The voters already spoke. They didn't want it. So what they're doing is that, you know, yes, I understand the Board of Supervisors has to grant that ballot measure to be on the March 2020. They don't have any choice but to allow it to go to the voters and let the voters decide. But you just had 2 ballot measures voted, and you're gonna have a lot of angry constituents if, you know, I don't know how the board can spin it, the fact that the voters spoke so loudly on this matter, and then you turn around and grant them a reprieve to stay open for another 18 months or whatever.
I don't have any information on this, so I can't talk. I totally agree with you. Zach was here last month, and he stood up in front of all of you and said he is opposed. As a supervisor, he's opposed to all marijuana in Kern County. So this is not something that Zach is for. He's on record of that. So I can't answer what's being reported in the news today.
But you can have a report next month.
Of course I can.
Okay.
And I will. Yes, I will.
Yeah, because this is saying that 29 medical marijuana dispensaries have been granted temporary licenses by the county to remain open throughout the ban. The licenses were scheduled expired at the end of this month.
They extended it to May of
But they've been
2019. They did
extended.
that a couple months ago in September, I think.
Yes, and then it goes on to say they were extended by the date, but the license will expire on May 24th, 2019.
Correct.
For
For 29
The supervisor said to discuss extending the deadline further in January.
Okay, so they're going to discuss it further, but that doesn't mean that they are going to do it. They're just
Have we
gonna discuss
forwarded
it
that
further.
to him?
No, but I'm gonna save it and show it to him.
You can email it.
That's just the Bakersfield, California, Bakersfield.com. It's the Bakersfield, California. That's
Yeah.
who it is.
Okay, well.
I'm a
We'll get
25-year
it.
resident of
Great.
Bakersfield. I know.
Is that something you guys can add to next month's agenda
We
to
can be on the agenda.
oppose the extension?
Yeah, we can definitely have it on the agenda for the board to discuss and talk about. Okay, item D, I don't think there's any other thing on B, C, or D that we have to talk to. I think everything else has been addressed on that. Okay, new business. Okay, this is my favorite part. I want to welcome the incoming board members and give an orientation and answer questions to prepare you for the December meeting. There was some talk about meeting for lunch and things like that, and I want to congratulate. Can all the newly elected people please stand up?
Raise my hand.
No, you got one.
By the way, I have a
I'm
question
standing
about
on the
that.
inside.
Since I was just elected to the school board and nobody from the school board came to give a report.
That's now your job.
Sorry.
It's nice to be you.
I was just wondering, you know, what do you want?
What are you gonna give us?
Well, I tell
She
you
wants
what,
turkeys.
this is going to be another where I can kind of get you guys familiarized with this. And congratulations, one and all.
You too, Greg?
And,
Say thank you.
Say thank you.
oh, thank you. I didn't hear you, Lisa, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
The deal is that some of you guys reached out to Bill asking if you guys all meet for a lunch and stuff like that. And what you guys are gonna learn is, it's a thing called the Brown Act. And very simple is that once you are elected members, and Carol, this is gonna be you as well.
I already read the documents on it.
Right. The Brown Act is, don't let it scare you. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just basically saying that you can't call Lisa, and Lisa, you can't call Brennan and say, hey, Brennan, you know, I'm thinking about putting this on the agenda and this is what I think about it. What do you think? Oh, okay, you talk back and forth. And then you call Mr. Washington here and say, the reason I don't use your first name because it's weird. It feels like I'm talking to myself. But anyhow, it's a weird thing of mine. We're both named Greg, okay? Yeah. So, but then you call Greg and tell him, says, hey, you know what? Not telling him that you talked to Brennan, but you just pick his brain, see what he thinks about it. Now you got a couple of board members that, you know, you already know what they're thinking. You've already kind of prodded them. You kind of cleared the path. Then you come to a board meeting and then you vote on it and you get the affirmative vote that you want. That's what's called a serial meeting. You can't do it with emails, you can't do it with text messages, and you can't do it in person. Now, all of you people, the entire board, can socialize together. You can meet for lunch. You can go to dinner. You can go to parties. You just can't discuss board business when you have a quorum of board members there. That's what's very important. So when you have, but like Lisa and Greg, you guys can go have lunch or a cup of coffee, and if you are on a committee, you can discuss committee business, you know, and strategize. The three of us, we went down to go meet with Union Pacific Railroad. And then we had lunch at Subway and we were talking about our meeting with Union Pacific, but we're not a quorum. There's not four of us together. And we were part of the committee to go down there and discuss this access road. So that's not a serial meeting. That's just, we went together to discuss district business, and then we came back here and, you know, and reported back to you what we discussed about and what we did. But we didn't take no action on it. So that's what the Brown Act is. It's to make sure that anytime you people are talking, that you are doing it in front of the public. That everything you've got to say is right out here. Here, when you're up on this board, you can say anything you want. You can argue, you can sit there and challenge your fellow board members and try to get them to vote your way or try to talk them out of voting a certain way. You can do all of that as long as you're doing it here in front of you. Then it's okay. That's called the open meeting law. What you can't do is take a recess and go outside around the corner and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go in and I'm going to propose this. What do you think? That's a no-no. You can't do that. So just remember that when you're a board member, to keep everything above board, out in the open. That's it. As long as you keep that in mind, that you are always keeping things in the sunlight, not in the dark, then you won't have any issues. So with that, now I'm going to let you guys ask any questions that you might have, you know, things that you're wondering about.
I was going to ask about the road, but you already talked about it.
Okay.
Well, in terms of the school, what happens at the board meetings? You know, because this is another.
Well, I get installed on December 7th, and then I have training sessions that I have to go to that will teach me how to function on the board.
Well, I mean, but that's kind of what we're after, is, you know, what happened there that we could share with a whole bunch of people.
Right. Well, actually, I get sworn in on the 7th, and then my first The board meeting will be on the 12th.
Right, and I'm hoping to be the Rosamond Community Service District representative here at these meetings. And my job will be to do the same thing that John has done for so many years with the school board. And hopefully you can be here for that, is when the school board is called on, that you can stand up and you can give an update on what's taking place, what you guys are working on, any things that, you know, concerns and
issues,
milestone
challenges.
debris. And the same thing with the RCSD. It'll be my job to, if I'm the one here, it'll be my job to get up and, you know, brief the public on what's going on with the RCSD and water and sewage and all the issues going on there, and give the public an update as well. So what's going to happen is next month, the election will be certified. They say December 6th, but if you go back and look historically, it's probably going to be certified somewhere, I would say, between the 21st and the 26th or 27th of the month, somewhere around there. And once the election is certified, then we will have our scheduled meeting, which will be the third Thursday in December, and on the 20th. And what you guys will do is that this board here will open the meeting. I will call the meeting to order, take roll call, and then we'll get up, and if one of these two, we will relinquish our seats. And Justin Wright, I don't know if he'll be here or not, but he's no longer a board member. And so what'll happen is that you guys will come up here, you'll be sworn in, then you'll take your seats, and then you will have an election to elect a chairman, secretary, and so forth. And then it's all yours.
I just realized I'm the only one not gonna take an oath this time.
Yeah.
Is it just the board members who elect who's gonna be in what order?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Because I didn't run for my seat up here, and Justin didn't run for his seat.
You guys were appointed?
Huh?
Were you appointed?
No, they just.
I was appointed.
No, in this election.
This election, right. I chose to run for the RCSD and not run for this seat here. So what'll happen is that our terms expire, and it's a ceremonial meeting. I technically won't, under the loosest terms, technically still be a board member until you guys are sworn in. And but it's a tradition that is very important in my eyes, always has been, that we are one of the few countries in the world where you have an election and then you have a peaceful transfer of power. And to be able to say, okay, the board members that are leaving, they stand up, they vacate their seats, and the new members come in and take those seats. And to me, it's a very important symbolic, moment, in my opinion, and it's important to have. And this is where you guys will take your seats, and then at that point, you'll have your agenda, and then you just go ahead and move forward. And so I want to congratulate every one of you on your elections, and you are going to find public service very rewarding. Very rewarding. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. And yes.
So where would I locate the charter or constitution bylaws that you operate under? I could not find them on your website.
It's on the Kern County website.
It's on the Kern County website.
Yes. Yeah. And that will tell you exactly what this committee does. And so what you do is you go to the Kern County Supervisor's website, and you'll see board, committees, and commissions. Click on that. and then just scroll down till you get the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council, and then you click on that, and then it'll take you to the page that'll have everything that the government code that it was formed under and everything else.
Okay, I swear I was there, but I must not look hard enough.
So at the top,
It's
it has
pretty
2
light
pages.
reading.
One with the names, and then the other one is the one you want.
Okay.
This is my area, because I'm not gonna sit next to the lake.
Yes.
Just saying.
Congratulations on going back to RCSD. You're looking for some great changes to go down to back here.
Well, you're in trouble now.
Well, thank you very much.
Golf boards, you could have stayed on this one and did that one too. I voted for you twice.
Well, I've always felt that, you know, you can only be of service if you're only focused on one job at a time. And so therefore, again, if there's any other questions, and I want to welcome you all to the RMAC and look forward to seeing you next month and let you guys take over. And I know you're all going to do great things.
I understand.
Well, you're staying.
I'm staying.
Yeah, you still got 2 years to
Stuck
go.
with me for 2 years.
Okay, we go B. Which is
Okay,
the
item
Christmas
B,
parade.
we had a deal for the Rosamond Christmas Parade. Has the RMAC participated before and had a float or something in it? I don't think we have.
I don't think we have either. You know, the Christmas parade is at 6 o'clock at night in December. I've announced that parade several times, and it's probably the most unpleasant thing I've ever done in my life.
We have
Depends on the weather. Yeah, Jack's going to do that.
Jackets.
But jackets. Although you're talking about Jack. Jack is probably going to be the announcer, but it means getting some kind of a float and putting lights on it and doing all that kind of work. I don't think that's the appropriate thing for us to do. I think it's appropriate for us to be more involved in the Septemberfest parade, but not the Christmas.
Well, you could just drive in a car.
Yeah. But it's dark. It's at night. It's got to be lit somehow.
That's perfect.
I suppose we can all carry flashlights like this. And,
Sit in John's convertible.
yeah. Or, you know, some of the rest of you are a little not as equipped, but my halo actually will glow at night. Why is she laughing?
I'd like to just thank you as a board for opening this up tonight and letting our people speak. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to make a comment regarding Michael Clark. For me personally, he's been so helpful with all my questions and issues regarding this. I've gone to him. I called Zach Scribner's office and I was given his phone number, and he's been extremely helpful to me.
She was the one that put it on Facebook.
Yeah. It's okay. I've already forgiven her for that, so.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, we
but
did.
He's a good friend, and he's been very helpful, and I want to personally thank you in front of this whole meeting. So, Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
When you're in a public office, it feels like you've got a target right on the front of you.
You need to understand, we wouldn't be on this board if we didn't care about our town. And just because we have to listen to everybody and we can't make a decision as a board right now, doesn't mean we're not going to make a decision as a board later on. But right now, we have to hear everybody. We have to listen to everything. You have to weigh both sides. We live here too.
But you're right, Carol. You do have a target. It's not just on the front. It's on the back and on the sides too.
Yeah. All the way around.
And your keister gets kicked all the time.
Okay, so any more discussion on the Christmas parade?
Yeah, I would recommend that we.
Are we going to have a float in it or something?
Well, did you want to make the float?
You only got about 2 weeks to get this done if you're going to do something.
Well, I got a Corvette, so I can just take the top
I'll
off
drive
of
it.
There you go.
Put LED lights around
You guys can be right in front of mine, and I'll turn on my headlights.
And a big magnetic sign. That's all you need.
I have a Santa outfit too.
You all put red noses on.
You can't upstage Santa. He's the last one in the parade.
I
can't
have,
have too
I
many
have a red
Santas.
sweater, do
Who's
you
to
wanna
say
borrow
he's
it?
the real one?
Wear the pixie outfit instead. Then.
All right, well, if Bill wants to get something set up with
Yeah.
his Corvette, then I'd like to make a motion that we participate in the Christmas parade.
We just need to make some signs or something.
Yeah.
I'll get those done.
Need a
I'll get
second?
those done.
A second. All in
Any
favor?
further discussion?
Who's gonna ride in the car with us?
Did you want to?
I will if you're not going to.
Go for it.
Hey, it's a Corvette.
Yeah.
It's with my buddy here.
You know, our Christmas parade is always the same day as the Lancaster Christmas parade.
Yeah, but you live in Rosamond, so get away from
Let
there.
me finish my sentence, and I'll be announcing that parade in the morning. So, and by the time I'm done with the Christmas parade, I got a 4K, I'm done. So, because it's the longest parade that we have. It's also the same night, or the same day as they have the Battle of the Bands. There's tons of marching bands in that parade. It goes on about almost 3 hours.
Okay, well, I know.
So I'm
that's-
done. So if you want to be in it, that's
past your
fine.
bedtime, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, then, all in favor?
December the 1st.
December the 1st.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Bill's it.
Okay, item 13, director's agenda referrals. I think we've got pretty much what we're gonna be doing next month. And in light of the season, you know, we'll try to keep the meeting as light as we can for the new board, so you're not here till 10 o'clock, just a few days before Christmas.
They won't know what they're doing anyway.
Okay, item 14, director's comments. Director Schopner.
Oh, can we back up from just a minute?
Sure.
This young lady here is trying to address the board and she didn't get a chance, so could you at least hear her out?
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, I'd like the board to hear. I'm having an issue with a neighbor, and Mr. Bill Parkman is helping me. It's being taken for him. This is the water from my neighbor. I'm having it with her behind her fence and behind my garage. When I open my garage, there's a bunch of water like this every day. And I'm afraid to fall and have break leg or anything. I have spoke with her. She doesn't care.
Is the water coming from her property, from the
Yes.
leak?
She has two drains, one inside of her patio and the other one up facing behind her fence towards the alley. And I went to RS department. They threw me out. They said, it's not your business. Their bill is come the same every month. So don't worry about it. Mind your own business. So I left the office. That's no help. This has been going on since March 2007.
You know what, after the meeting, why don't you give me the address? I'll go take a look at it and see what's going on. And then, but something like that, you could call Kern County Code Department.
I have, and they still tell me I'm a crazy lady. It's not my business. As long as they have the same bill every month, they don't want to help me. They even knock her door, and she goes, that lady's crazy. I just use the hose. I don't even use my sprinklers. And I already told them, they have two drains, one behind, because I saw it. They opened it, not this owner, the before owners in 2015. So in 2016, I let them know, but they didn't listen to me. In 2017, I let them know again. And I have everything on record. I've been sending them letters, I've been sending them pictures. I've been spending almost $60 on pictures. And that's not right. And I'm not getting no help. And that's getting awful. It smells so bad.
Okay, after the meeting, come see me, and so I can look at the documentation there. All righty? Thank you. Okay, Director Schopper, you got any comments?
I can't begin to tell you how important it is when the elections are held to vote. When the initial count was out there, I was the odd man out. And then they counted some more votes, and now there's one vote separating me and Bill, which I'm just sick about, because I really enjoy serving with him. It's so important to vote. I can't be, if there's any one thing you can go back to and say, well, gee, does my vote count? Yeah, one vote. That's, you know, what it makes all the difference in the world. This is like my 4th time on the board that I'm getting ready to finish up. The next one will be the 5th. I was the founding chairman. This is the best venue in town to find out in one meeting what is happening in our community. A lot of people don't take the paper even though they should. There's a wonderful paper being, you know, talk to this guy about a subscription. And he comes and he posts all this stuff on his website so you can keep up, but there's nothing like coming here and having an opportunity to stand face to face with somebody and get your questions answered. Or if you've got something important to announce it here. This is a wonderful two-way communication conduit. Our county seat, our county government is who we, how can I put this? Because we're not a city, our local government is county government. Our county supervisor is like our mayor. What do the various county offices do and what don't they do? I can't begin to say how many meetings I've come to and people are so frustrated they don't know, well, just like this, I don't know who to turn to. Who do I turn to? You need to have a local voice, and that's what we are. Do we have any power? No. Influence? Yes. They pay attention to what the board says. So we have to weigh this very, very carefully. And there's no better meeting to come to find out what's going on in town than this one. You found out a lot tonight. So it's my honor too to serve. My whole goal, as I mentioned last month, is whatever I can do to help make Rosamond a better place to live and work, I'm all for. You know? So I thank you for the opportunity to serve, and for God's sakes, next time you didn't vote this time, make it a point to vote next time. Nope.
None.
I just wanted to say, again, congratulations to all of those that ran for office. Win or lose, you need to take your hats off to everybody that put their hat in the ring. Because it takes an unselfish person to stand up and stand for election. And that's a person that says, hey, I want to do something for my community. I want to help. And whether they were elected or not elected, you know, they should all be applauded and congratulated for at least making the effort. And, you know, Dennis is right.
So say that again. I just can't hear it enough.
Get your phone out and record it. Can we
but you have, just because we are not a city, you have 3 forms of government here in Rosamond. You have the RMAC Council, which is an advisory council to the Board of Supervisors. You have the school board, which is in charge of all the schools and things pertaining to our children and students and education and everything else. And then you have the Rosamond Community Service District, which is in charge of your water and sewage and parks and rec and street lighting.
No, Parks and Rec.
Well, okay, they used to be in charge of parks and recs, okay? And I'll leave it at that. And your street lighting and your, but the point is that you have 3 separate bodies here where everybody in this community can go to and get their voices heard, to seek help when they just can't, like this lady here, can't seem to find someone to help her with her problem. So always remember that, especially those of you that are elected. Never forget that you were elected to serve, not be served. That you work for the people of this community. And if you keep those two things in mind, you'll always be a great public servant. And congratulations. Okay. Item 15, adjournment.
Did I say that?
The most important item on this.
I would move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Schaffner, second by Director Morris. All in favor?
Aye.
And for the last time, meeting adjourned at 9:26.